Broadcasting from USA Swimming's headquarters at the Carolyn Dirks Building in Colorado Springs, Colorado, it's time for Kick Set. Join three-time Olympian Elizabeth Beisel and U.S. National Team Director of Performance Matt Barbini as they host members from the USA Swimming community, ranging from age group to Olympic levels of the sport.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Kick Set podcast. My name is Matt Barbini. I'm the National Team Director of Performance here at USA Swimming, and joining me, as always, with my favorite baseball team's cap on today, three-time Olympian Elizabeth Beisel.
Go Sox,
I love to
for those
see,
of you.
Yeah,
right?
It's an audio medium, so that's an absolutely awful description. She's wearing a
no,
green
because
Red Sox hat.
we are on YouTube. Okay,
It's true.
so
It's
for
true.
those that
Yeah.
are watching, go Sox.
Yeah, go Sox.
Barbini, I feel like we haven't spoken in forever.
It has been a long time.
Sad. But
Yep.
the last time that I saw you in person was in Budapest. So I want to know how that experience was for you and all the world records and just like,
man.
Why was that meet so crazy?
Yeah, so this was like, and you've been on some of these teams. There's just nothing like when one of our teams gets on a roll and you're just like, well, nobody's beating us in anything now. And It's happened a couple of times. Rio was kind of like that. 2017 Worlds was very much like that. 2022 Worlds was sort of like that, but this one was maybe the biggest example of that. And I mean, to break 21 world records in 6 days is crazy. To have Gretchen Walsh break 11 just herself is the most ever at a meet by 4, which is insane. The people that had 7 were Mark Spitz and Michael Phelps. So not guys, you may have heard of them if you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And then that just completely overshadows, like, Kate Douglas and Reagan Smith both broke 4 world records each at this meet. Like it was the most absurdly jaw-dropping performance I've seen. It's such a good reminder that we are just so good at short course, and that our women's team is the best unit in the world, and our men are pretty darn good too. It is just really fun when you are just lighting it up like that. What was your experience like there, aside from the much publicized hunt for a suit that Reagan eventually fixed for you so you could do would you go 28 in your 53?
28-1.
Nice.
My relay split. So for those that don't know, for context, at all of the world championships and Olympics, there's always a media relay. So anybody that's affiliated with any media, whether you're international or local like NBC, they put together a team of 4 and you do a 4x50 relay. And so people take this very seriously and think like we are all washed up, like none of us swim really. But people like bring racing suits to do this. I was like, oh shit, like I don't have a racing suit with me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to social media and somebody's going to give me one. And so I have to say honorable mention to Alex Walsh, because she DM'd me like 2 minutes after Reagan, but I had already responded to Reagan. So if Reagan's suit didn't
Alex
fit,
is also like a foot taller.
I know. And like Reagan was literally the best, because she was like, oh my God, Beisel, like, do you want a brand new one? Like a brand new suit? Like I have plenty. And I was like, I would never in my life ruin a brand new suit over this. Okay. Like give me your most worn out one. That's probably the one I'll fit in. But it was great. So that was really fun. It was the first time I had suited up since I retired, which was also ironically in that pool in Budapest. So it was a very like full circle moment. But it was, I mean, for me doing some of the post-race interviews for World Aquatics, it was the best. Every single time you're interviewing somebody, like I had all the women, they were breaking world records. Like I was like, Gretchen, I'm so sorry to ask you again about what it's like to break a world record, but
I loved the in-venue announcer just he was just like trying to come up with new ways to say, wow, what an exceptional world record. Even he's like, by the end is like, yeah, okay, no surprise there, world record, thanks, see you later.
Like,
and then
30 world records.
And then we end the meet by winning the medley relay by 7 seconds. That's like a pool length.
It was nonsense. It was the best way to end the year. And I feel like this is a great segue into our guest. And I'll let you introduce him, but it's so cool to think about the pool of people that he's going to be working with and how we carry that momentum through them all the way to LA. So I'll let you intro him.
Yeah. There's a lot of overlap here. We've got three-time Olympian that does a bunch of media with Basel. We've got three-time Olympian that does some of our. We stick a microphone in his hand occasionally and put him up front. Our guest today is our new national junior team director, Brendan Hansen. He is, as I mentioned, a three-time Olympian, six-time Olympic medalist, and he's been at USA Swimming for a while, but just started as the director of the junior team in October. Previously, he was in our team services division. So, Brendan, thanks for coming on to hang out. I know I see you all the time, so it's not all that exciting for you, but it's a different type of conversation.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Let's talk swimming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Brendan and I are now like in the same division in the building. So this is not even our only meeting today.
For sure.
I'm jealous.
I know,
Thanks
right?
for making
dude.
me. I have like FOMO now that I don't get to be with you guys all the time. Brennan, what made you kind of want to take on this role as a national junior team director? I feel like this is like the best role for you.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think kind of why we all come back to the sport of swimming to some capacity is to, one, the appreciation of what the sport gave you, obviously. And so how can you create it and pass it on and create more opportunities for people? So my time in sport development was to do that at the local level, and then it just naturally gravitated to the national level, which this is really my bread and butter and probably where I'm the most effective. And I think our leadership saw that. And after, like you guys were talking about, an end of a quad and a new of a quad, these are the opportunities to kind of reevaluate and put people in great positions. And with Eric stepping off and taking the job at Texas, it just made sense for me to kind of move over and take this role. And so, I'm just really, I'm beyond excited about it. I think the energy of the membership, and then obviously that side of the building with Matt and the team, I think everybody's pretty excited about me being where I am.
Yeah, definitely can't confirm that we are stoked to have you. And I think a lot of us were kind of very supportive of the idea as it was floated. But I do want to go backwards, right? So this position has historically been either a coach or, some type of administrator. I think, to my knowledge, or at least in my time here, you're the first athlete to have taken this position, or former athlete to have taken this position. So you were on the junior team briefly when you were younger. What's your memory of sort of your interaction with USA Swimming when you were a kid, and like how did that have any influence on how you approach the job now?
So I think I'm going to reiterate what Basil said in the intro, which is like we are all washed up a little bit. So when you say athlete associated with my title, it just like makes me stand up a little bit taller. I feel really good about it. I got to tell you,
I know people get sensitive when I say former athlete. I know that's like a little bit
it's like even when you walk into a room and say I'm a former Olympian, and they're just like, no, never a former Olympian. You're like, listen, I can call myself what I want. Like it is what it is. Like let's just chill out here. That's not why I'm here.
Not doing what I used to do.
I tap dance around that one all the time.
Yeah. I gotta tell you this story. Yesterday I was at the gym, and I just wanted to document that I still work out. But I was at the gym yesterday, and this lady came up to me after the workout. He was like, "Hey, I gotta ask you, were you in a music video?" And I was like, yeah. She's like, "Call Me Maybe." And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh my God, we fell in love with swimming that Olympic Games and that team and everybody that was there." And I was like, "Yeah, that's really what I'm known for, is the guy that moonwalked on the floor at the bottom of the pool, But like to that point, Matt, it's like I don't know what I don't know in that role as an athlete. And I think like the more I interact with our athletes and our coaches, the more these memories of that early years on the national junior team are coming up. Like I took a group to Australia last summer to Junior Pan Pacs, and the weight that those athletes felt on their shoulders first time putting on an American flag cap, I was like, oh crap. And like I forgot about it. And it's not like it was just my long career, but like I think I reached back to the team and you guys and being like, wow, this is real. Like I forgot about the weight of this. I forgot how these athletes respond to that. And so it's bringing up a lot of those old early memories of kind of being involved and getting that orientation of what it's like. And it excites me because I'm like, okay, the perspective side of it, knowing what is, if you stay in the sport as long as I did, like this one moment in time is not going to define you. Like, just keep going. Like, it's like kind of those things. And it's like you rely on your teammates. The brand is really strong, and yes, you want to be a part of it, but like it can also hold you up and take you places you've never been before. And so like while I don't really truly remember those first moments as a national team athlete, like I feel like I'm reliving it through our athletes, and then it's bringing up like great things that I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to like think through this and strategize with that 12-year perspective, 3 Olympic Games, and multiple time captain. So it's like teaching these kids the leadership skills. And again, I think you and I talked about this just in me taking this role of like, how can I take the national team perspective and behaviors and push that down into our national team athletes so that by the time they get up to that national team roster, they're like, yo, let's go. Let's go to Budapest and do what that team did, and like, let's do some great things. So those are the things that kind of fire me up right now. And I think, I don't know, it makes me excited to go to work every day, because I'm like reliving, 25 years ago, which the math doesn't check out, but that is a true number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like your experience is so invaluable to these kids, and I'm curious. So I was never personally on the junior team. I went straight to Pam Pack.
Skipped
You
it.
just wanted that
Yeah,
document too.
she
You
just
wanted
wanted-
that
yeah.
No,
document.
I just
This-
I
listen.
this
go
is-
to the gym, people, and Beisel
Do you
was
guys
never on a
want me to
national
just
team.
get out of the way so you can just humble brag back and forth for the rest of the hour? Is that?
I knew it was
hate
going to turn
that
into
sounded
this.
like that. Let me finish my question.
Did you know
Boy.
Brendan was a
Former.
captain? He mentioned that too. He slipped that
Yeah.
in, multiple time captain.
Listen, Brendan, just
Hey,
get your
that's
medals
good.
real quick. Put them around your neck.
I don't even know where they are. But that's fine.
Yeah, sure. They're in that room somewhere.
No. So
Oh, you mean
here's
that
my-
one there?
Sorry, guys. I'm
Here's my
sorry. I'm
point.
sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
fine.
Oh, you say something?
Okay. I am saying this because I don't know what it's like. So I'm curious, like, what is the culture like on the national junior team? And are there things that you're going to be changing throughout the next 3 years heading into the quad? Like, how do you prep these kids to be ready for 2028, like home Olympics? Because I feel like a lot of the people that Brendan you're working with right now are the ones we will see in LA.
Yeah, if
Well,
not
that's-
32, Brisbane,
If
right?
not
So
32, right?
I can only really speak to like the attitude of my national junior teams, like, and then me being fairly close to those groups as they were coming up was like, you get apparel is a big deal, right? The day you get the box and the day you get your cap and everything. And so like I remember that. And then I remember like the first time seeing my name on the back or on a USA like flag cap and being like, holy crap, that's what an Olympian wears. And now my name is on it. And I remember like taking multiple pictures of it. But then I remember getting like all the shirts and t-shirts and everything, which our athletes will get sometime this spring in camp. And the mentality for me was like, I wanted to erase the junior as soon as I possibly could on all of that apparel, right? And I wanted to say national team. So like, to me, it was not a landing zone. It was a stepping stone. Like that was the way my entire group thought as we were coming up was, okay, how do we erase the junior on all of this apparel? Because we want national team. And I think at the time, like my group in late 1990s, like we were one of the records of the most. I think again there was a group in like 2005 maybe that put as many kids on the national team, but for a while there it was like mine was a star-studded group, and I think a lot of it was that mentality that we had when we went on the trip was like, this is not where we want to be. This is going to help us get where we want to go. So we really used it as a lot of like, okay, first time wearing this stuff, first time representing our country. Let's learn the best we can. We had great coaches as well and mentors. So like me paying attention to that as well. I don't necessarily know how we have like the athletes have really perceived the national junior team up to this point, or if it has shifted at all. I just can tell you that I don't want it to be a place where we want you to stay there. Like it is not a landing zone. It is like I've already stressed that to our national select camp kids that were in the last 2 weeks and 3 weeks of January, and I was just like, listen, our goal is progression. Our goal is to develop. Our goal is to guide and get you all the experience and education you need with you and your coach back home to get you to the next level. Like I want everyone's trajectory to look like this, and so I'm very much taking and bottling up that probably one of the more successful national junior teams. I know 05 was really good. 08 was really good. those kinds of mentalities. Because I think at this point, what I've been telling the kids is like, if talent got you in the room, skill acquisition will get you out to the next one. And so it's like you have to continue to learn and develop and ask questions. And so, like, I just remember that being the mentality of my group. We were just never afraid to listen to a great coach on the pool deck give us advice and tell us what to do. And so, to that point, like, I'm still learning what the mentality of the national junior team is. I'm not going to like sit here and think I know what it is. So I'm going to kind of utilize a little bit of that with the time I get with them. The nice thing is that I would say this is a fairly seasoned roster. When you don't have a lot of opening spots in our national team because it's so deep and so strong, some kids get stuck in this position. But if you're asking me, like, we had this conversation in 26 the summer or 27 of the quad, I would say I want this group to be eager to race any given time, any place, anywhere. And as soon as a national team member has a bad day, this athlete's like going to let them know it. Like iron sharpens iron, right? So it's like, how can they be as competitive as they can be so that at any given day they can race our best to either make them ready for the international stage or they jump up and get the opportunity to be there, So it's going to be interesting.
So you had an unusual like pre-job here. You went to Junior Pampax not as the junior team director. You went as the team leader for that trip, but you were still in your previous role and didn't even know you were taking the junior team director job yet.
Yeah.
So what were some of your takeaways from that trip? And did that experience kind of help you on the onboarding of this new role?
Yeah, I think the trip situation is Eric took the job at Texas, so we didn't have anybody. You guys were all on the road like crazy this summer for just some really big event we do every 4 years. And then it was like, okay. And I remember calling Lindsay and saying, Lindsay, do not worry about this. I'm happy to step up. I'll take this on and we'll build it and we'll crush it for um it just brought back a lot of feelings. Like I went back and so everybody thinks our jobs in the national team are so much of it revolve around the trips. It is such a fight. It's like 5% of our job. Like while I sit here and say like, oh man, this is what really positioned me. It was one of those things where I was like, I knew this was my audience. I knew this was my group, and I knew this is where I could make the biggest impact. And you guys have known me my whole career. It's like I just want to be put in a position where I can make the biggest impact and help an organization or a group of people be better than they thought they could be. When we go to Australia, I immediately associated, like my first attempt was like, let's just act like captain of the program, right? Like, let's just do the same thing I did and treat every one of these athletes as if we're an Olympic team going in and I'm the captain of the team. It's just what I knew. It's what I've been doing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I really leaned on the staff a lot more, which I really believe in. It's like, how do you empower our coaches and our staff to really be great at their roles? So during the camp, I shifted to like, hey, take this on, lead this meeting. It's not all about me. Let's find a way. And I just kind of spread the burden as well as shared the knowledge of all this. And dude, like it was very similar to Budapest in aspect of like, we just unlocked the potential of the group. And I was like, and then it was just cool again to see like a lot of alumni support, a lot of people reaching out, being like, Brennan, this is awesome. Like we're watching this. This is really cool. We were breaking records. We were winning a lot of medals. And then I knew we had it when Australia was cheering for Japan because they hadn't won a medal yet and they were not going to. And they were like, well, we'll just cheer for the next best person and we're never cheering for Americans. And I was like, yes, because I'm a big fan of like, how do you get in your competitor's head? And then how you just live there rent free. And so I think for me, it's just like teaching these kids how to get there, how to swim like that, and get to the next level. So it was a really fun trip in the aspect. And then I come home and everybody's like, wow, you were so good at it. Or like, like everybody was really pleased with it, to your point, Matt, where it was like, what do you guys think about this? And then we had some internal conversations where it was like, yeah, let's remove the barrier and let's get on it,
Yeah. I've been like, excuse me, so lucky to have been on teams with you, Brendan, as an athlete and seen you as a leader. And I feel like I pulled a lot of some of the leadership qualities that I have now from you. So I'm curious, when you're on these trips with these athletes, like what are some of your non-negotiables that you are teaching to these kids and giving to them to set them up for success as leaders and as athletes while their career is still on the up?
Yeah. Uh, I think first and foremost, it's like teaching them their own independence, and then like understanding that everything that you're learning along the way, you should really know the why behind it. Like a lot of times in my career where I got lost or gray, it was like I went blindly in that direction without ever like really asking or being the idiot in the room, right? Like, hey, why do you want me to do those 50s? Or, what's the idea behind this approach? I was just like, well, you're a world-class coach, so you're just going to put me in a great position. And I never like, so a lot of this generation, I feel like, to unlock the true potential. I think they're way more talented than I ever was, right? Is the accountability, the ownership, and the independence. Like if they come to a camp in Australia and we're 5 days out from a big meet, it's like if coach at home gave them a workout for them to do, they can justify why they're doing that work and work with the coaches there to understand how to move them in that direction. So it's like it's a huge maturity thing. The cool thing about it, Faisal, is like really has nothing to do with like take your mark, beep, go, performance. Like that part of it, they know how to operate that. It's like the other 97% of the equation, which is what are you doing in a workout? Are you paying attention to why you're doing things? And then like, I don't know. I always tell the kids like the most dangerous person on the pool deck for me was the one that was always asking questions or like constant learning or staring at film or like tinkering or like, being annoying, right? Like, oh, well, how do I do this? Or how do I, this? And so I think there's this overwhelming sense that when you get to the next level of something, and I remember this personally of just like getting there thinking like, oh, well, I have to prove myself that I made it to be up here. So you're at a camp or you're at a open, like, warm up, or whatever. So you race it, you're nervous and you're just like, I'm here, and you kind of do that. But at the same time, it's like, you don't have to prove yourself. You should be asking questions and walking in and being like, hey, you've been here, you've done that. Like, Tom Wilkins, Kirk Grote, like, how do I get better? Jeremy Lin, how do I get better? Guys, if you don't know who those are, those are like Olympians that were breaststrokers before I came on the scene. So it's really teaching these kids to connect and then build their own independence, accountability, and ownership of what it is. Because I think the analogy I give them is like, you're a Formula One race car driver and you have an amazing pit crew now. So when you're driving the car or you're prepping for a race, like how are you communicating with everybody now that you have on your side to be the best you can be? Because you'd be amazed that when you put them in that setting, how bad they are at it. Like they're not good at it. And so I'm like, you just have to be 5% better of explaining how it feels when you go in there or what this tempo feels like to like really unlock the potential of our coaches, our high performance team, our mental specialists, our nutritionists. Like they don't know how to advocate for themselves yet. And so when you talk to me about like the leadership side of it now is so much more dry side leadership than it is like, hey, like I remember early being like, all right, I'm going to go win this first event of finals and fire everybody up on the team. And we're going to, like performance is what's going to drive the leadership. I just don't think that's, for my many years on the national team, I don't think that's what the culture of USA Swimming is. Like, I think when we make the right decisions and advocate for ourselves, like that's when no other country can compete against us.
Yeah, you mentioned something with the hero warm up, which is a proud tradition of all junior team events and junior team camps, especially we'll
Yeah.
see that in a few weeks when we have our national junior team camp here. The kid that underestimates the altitude and just goes crazy on the first 500.
Yeah.
But that ties in. We talk a lot when Basil and I do these shows about national team and up, like Olympic team level stuff, because of virtue of my job and her experience. But you recently were involved in 2 national select camps, which for those who don't know is sort of one step down from the junior team. It's selected a little bit differently. So I just want to take the opportunity, since you just did that, to talk a little bit about that level, and what your experience was like at those camps and how you see that tying into the program that you and I work on, which is the national team side.
Yeah, I think this goes back to like my days at sport development, right? And so I think there's a huge advantage for me coming from sport development into the national team role, which is also to your point, like I may be the first former athlete to be in this role, but also I may be one of the first people coming from sport development into this role in national team, to where like you have to visually look at this as a pyramid. And what we have over every other country is the widest base. We have the most athletes playing the sport. We have the most, and so when you talk about like different layers, and let's just talk for a minute about like, let's just imagine visually you're three-quarters of the way up that pyramid. Now, the top of the pyramid is our Olympic team, our elite level, what you guys say you like talk about all the time. If you go down one-third of the way on that pyramid, that's our national select camp, which is just a small sliver underneath our national junior team. I mean, yes, they're like right on the cusp, but like we're talking, it could be hundredths of a second between their top times and a kid that makes our national junior team. So this is not a, like I tried to stress to the kids when I saw them last week, the women and the men, we bring them in separately for the camps, is like you are just one swim away from getting this as well, if not, being Beisel and not even swimming on the national junior team and going right to the next level.
Excuse me, I went to national select camp. Okay.
I know, that's why I just said it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just giving you the right. Yeah, so my goal is really to keep that aspect of the pyramid and the resources and the education experience like fairly like raw and vague right there so that everybody sends to get it. Now, granted, like if you're on the national junior team, you're going to get a little bit different. If you make it to the national team, you're going to get a little different. But the beauty of our sport is you still have to go like this summer, you still have to go to June in Indy and race, and you have still got to touch the wall first and make our team. So yeah, granted, you can be on the national junior team and be on the roster, but I guarantee you there's 4 or 5 kids on the national select camp that I just visited with that are probably going to be going to Romania with me in August, right? And so it's really for us about making sure that there's no real big funnels, right? Like that we're not sitting here and truly like relying on one group of person to get where it is. Because I think, again, in the aspect of like what we have versus any other country when we compete is the fact that we can pull from these big pools of athletes, talent ID, and then to what I was answering Beisel earlier is like, how do we start to learn how to race for each other? The culture of USA Swimming, along with these big pools of athlete and talent, is this like everybody's like, we can't compete against that. And the only way other countries do really is they talent ID early. They say, this is the athlete we want to. They invest all of their resources in 1 or 2 of those athletes. And they may pick 1 or 2 medals off of us, or a Leon who picks off a bunch of medals from us. But the point is that nobody compete against our numbers. And from what Matt, what you and I've talked about coming back from the Olympic Games and then talking about this quad is, to your point, is like, let's push down all of this knowledge as far as we can where it's applicable, make sure these kids have it, create more experience this quad where we can. You and I talked about camps, competitions on our soil, not on our soil, right? We've listened to coaches in those aspects. You and I have conversations about that all the time. And now it's like, okay, let's start to push the snowball down the mountain and see what it is. I think the biggest thing that I would say, guys, is like, I'm extremely encouraged by the athletes. Like, we have more talent than we've ever had. People get nervous about the generational talent is tough, right? The Phelps, the Ledecky, those come and go, and they're hard to fill up. We've always found a way to kind of fill shoes in those situations. But at the same time, like, we have really, really great athletes coming up. It's just are inspiring like these positions to get in there and really ask the questions, know your why, and then haul it, man. Let's go.
I'm curious what you see in terms of the difference of athletes from when they arrive at national select camp or like Australia and from when they leave. Like, are they more inspired? Like, I would love to know the transition that they go through, even just on a short weekend like select camp.
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's different for the men and the women. The men come in and they're geographically cohorted out, right? Like when they all came in, it was like there's the West Coast, there's the East Coast, right? And then there was like your Midwest Corn Belt folks that were in the middle that were real pale, right? And then you just kind of have everybody in this area. And I'm one of the first people to talk. And it's hard because they're awkward, I'm awkward, we're in this room, and I'm like, just trying to tell myself like, okay, in 48 hours, they're going to be all friends. Like, and they're all going to have like a very similar goal set. And so I think what we do in these camps is really, really focus on the 4 C's of like our American development model, right? It's connection, it's confidence, it's character, it's competency, right? So like, we're just really focused on, can you guys connect together? what is your character like? Don't try to be somebody you're not. Like the diversity of our group is really important. Like the other 51 guys or 51 athletes I swam with, none of us were the same, and we were okay with that. And then we would go out there and race together. But the fun thing is that like they come in, they're super awkward. They all stand there, the guys are, and then like by day 2, they're trying to find ways to get in trouble. They're doing stupid stuff. They're like, they're just being guys, and you're like, okay. But you know that. You both are smiling, nodding your head. So you know exactly that energy that I'm talking about. And then it's
Totally.
just on staff, and everybody to bottle it, brand it, and to the point of the pyramid, like educate them on what the next layer of that pyramid is. The girls are a lot different. The girls come in and man, they are real quiet, real early, and they're quiet for a long time. And I think a lot of it is just like the maturity side of it, and I've just noted this just from a gender perspective, and like really like learning a lot from Emily Klee, who is our mental health specialist, and just like how do I operate with both groups? Because I feel like I can nail the raw locker speech with the boys. The women I come in, I'm really nervous to handle that group just because they hang on every word you say and they really want to be successful. Like they're already visually thinking about what the next thing is, where the guys are like, what are we eating for lunch? Like, and the girls are like, how do we
Totally.
get to the next level? Are you
Yeah.
going to help me?
Yeah.
The girls are very, they kind of hold their own for a little bit, like longer in the weekend. But man, as soon as that hits, like the last day of camp for the women, they did relays. And I mean, guys, no alumni, coach, anyone could be on the pool deck without like goosebumps where you're like, yeah, we're going to be just fine. Like they're finally wearing the cap, they're racing, they're fired up. And again, I think it has a lot to do with that connection side of it. And then they go home, to your point, they go home with this like ownership aspect. And so we have them, the camp, we have them do 2 things. And I stole this from MJ Truex. But one, they have to go home and they have to do a 15-minute presentation in front of their younger groups of their club program. Teach them about what they did, right? Pass it on, share the information of what they have. I have our national junior team athletes do that when they came back from Australia too. It just inspires the next generation, right? Like teaching them to be leaders. The second thing is the 3-2-1 3-2-1 exercise, which is what are 3 things you learned? What are 2 things you want to explore? And what's one thing that's going to be a non-negotiable for you moving forward? And I stole that from John Urbanchek. Like I remember him being like, now he wasn't that ritual, but he was just like, stop trying to throw the kitchen sink at stuff. He's like, just pick one thing, Brennan, and just be a little bit better at it. You know what I mean? Because here are all the things you suck at, but like, just be better in this one thing. It's John we're talking about here, right? So like, he would always tell you, but he would unlock that in you, right? And so we instill that in the kids of just like, don't try to go home and fix everything. What are 3 things? What are 2 things you and your coach are going to try to work on a little bit more and pay attention to? Underwater dolphin kicks, tempos, race strategy, warm downs, prep time, all that stuff. And then, okay, what's the one thing that we're going to say, boom, we're going to hold on to this and go. So the camp seems to be really, really in a great place. And to Matt's point, like we learn a lot when we have these cohorts of athletes in. Like it's just as much as learning experience for us as staff as it is for the athletes. And so as we're building out our April spring camp for our national junior team, we kind of take all what we're learning from that group and then we'll bring it into that camp as well.
It's funny that you talked about the progression that they go through socially through the weekend. It is insane as an adult to watch it happen so fast. They're just like complete strangers for when they arrive, and then best friends 36 hours later before they leave. And there's this like sweet spot, especially when it's both groups together with the national junior team, where it's like everybody's a little awkward. Okay, this is great. Uh-oh, too comfortable. Let's get them out of here before we get in trouble.
Time for them to leave.
Yeah, it's always that last day of like, man, let's get to the airport. Don't let anything weird
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
The
All right.
code becomes real.
For real. Yeah. You got to enforce the rules in the last day. Let's do some social kick. So these are listener or social media follower generated questions. They're sort of rapid fire-ish, but go as deep as you want on these. I apologize to this person. I am probably going to mispronounce your name. The first one is from Kathan W. What's one of the toughest things to teach swimmers?
That a moment in time is not going to define you. Like, it's really hard to understand the fact that the delayed gratification of this is probably the biggest reward, but in the moment, it's not, and it's really challenging. I mean, understanding what true success is. And I think a lot of times we set our goals to winning when we really should set our goals to excellence, right? Because you can't control what any of the 7 other people you race against. And so the hardest thing for them to understand is like it takes time to gain perspective in this sport, yet a lot of times we're not patient enough for it. And so the best line I have is it never happens when you want it to, it happens when it's supposed to. And I think we all know what that means because we've all been there and done that. But teaching the next generation that becomes really challenging.
Yeah. This is a good one too, kind of related to the first one. From Kaylin M. How do you help your swimmers' confidence?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is back to what I was talking about in the aspect of the ownership and understanding what that is. Once you own your process, you're going to be in the game. But confidence, I think it's just the understanding that it is going to waver, right? Like that there are going to be days that you're not more confident than others. Because I think a lot of the snowball effect or the bad mindsets that we have are just like the challenging concepts is like, oh, I shouldn't think like this. And I'm like, no, you should. That's by design. Like your brain should pick up on that and it's okay. So it's kind of a little bit more on the education side of it, of just being like, hey, you're processing right now. So stop thinking that you should be knowing what it is and just be okay with like the processing aspect of it. So it's a lot of hand holding and it's a lot of like just conversations. But I just see it right now. We have way too many heart-to-heart conversations at a swim meet. We need to have more of those types of conversations in practice. And swim meets should be really technical. It should be really like strategy, where we're at, a lot of like situational conversation of like what do we want to shift and move, not like overarching emotional conversations on the pool deck. So we're trying to teach a lot of our coaches to start pushing a lot of those types of growth conversations to the in workout. Don't be afraid to take your athlete out on a middle hard set and have a conversation with them, because that really will lay the groundwork to have these types of conversations, to your point, Matt, which will build confidence.
Yeah.
Because I just believe that confidence doesn't come unless you have trust in your process, trust in your village, trust in the people that you're going to help you get there.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about just in our various meets and groups and divisions that the pool deck at a meet is one of the absolute worst places to try to, if you're doing it there, you've probably already missed the opportunity that you should have taken to do things like that, whether it's confidence or even if it's more than really simple technical stuff. The pool deck at a meet is a pretty tough place to be building. It's more of a place to be executing. I think that's a really, really good point. These last two are pretty fun.
There you go.
This is from Sam H. What would your 100 best time be if you suited up today?
Yards or meters?
Let's go. Let's say meters.
Oh, you would.
I didn't want you to get to
meters.
say like, oh, I have
Okay,
nasty
I'll
pullouts.
say-
I'll
I'll
just
say-
do it.
yeah.
He's gonna be like 58-2.
He was like, well, I was at the
No.
gym, so I'm pretty good
Well,
at,
I'm warmed
at
up.
jumping.
Let's be honest. She didn't say, hey, did you win the Olympics? The first thing she said was, after the workout, were you in a music video?
Right.
So
True.
I was
Yeah,
in
yeah,
shape
yeah,
enough to
yeah.
be a backup dancer. is what it was.
Classic.
That's
Yeah,
I mean, that might be fitter than an Olympian. Guys are
Yeah,
bouncing
you're
around
right.
These days.
I think I could probably go under 104.
Okay.
Wow.
What about yards?
Yards probably be a little bit better. I think I could probably break 54. I probably could be in the 53 range. So
right.
I'm just ahead of Alex Walsh right now. So
surprise!
Congrats.
We've got you set
Yeah.
up in a pool, so just head over there. We're gonna film it and we'll post it. With
No,
this
like as I said all this,
Results to come.
Yeah.
yeah, my knees
Everybody
are
stay
starting to hurt a
tuned.
little bit.
Definitely ping Brendan Hansen on Instagram if you don't see us
Yeah.
on breast video
Light him up.
soon. Yeah.
No, I just like I still get in the water a little bit, but not much. But when I
Yeah.
do, I still have that catch and feel breaststroke, man.
Yeah. I love
We're
that.
still humble bragging an hour in.
Yeah.
This is my favorite question. This one is really good. We probably should have let you give you a heads up on this one.
No,
This is
it's
from
right on.
This is from Joe Q. Who is your favorite other Brendan?
Interesting. I don't Like the only oh God, the only one that comes to mind right now is Brendan Fraser, but
That was
that's that's not like
it's not a great one.
no, it's not terrible though. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
got like disowned by Hollywood and then like now he's
Yeah.
like coming back and making the comeback. So like I wouldn't differ from that. But guys, I live in Texas, right? So like my father-in-law still calls me Brandon. Like so it's like you should be allowed to expand my search to
All right, you
Brandon.
can have a Brandon if you want. Do you have a Brandon in mind?
No, I can now I'm thinking of the Brandon from 90210. Like which is like
Everybody
which I'm
under
like, no,
like
I don't want to do that either. Yeah.
everybody under
Yeah.
30 is like 90 what?
Everyone is like, who
The
the
what?
heck, what zip code is that? Yeah, exactly. Just dated myself. Um, yeah, I can't honestly think of
That's all
somebody.
right.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
Joe,
there are
that's
role
still a
models
good
in my
question,
day.
man.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Yeah,
recycle that one
that was
for
a
all
heck of a
our,
question.
it's a
Yeah.
it's a tough one.
I love
Stump
that.
me. That's how
Yeah.
good it was.
That's right, man. He
You're like,
wins.
huh? Because then I was thinking, I was like, I don't really know another Brendan now that I'm thinking
That's
about
right.
it. You're
Yeah.
The
you're the
OG.
one and only.
Humble bragging. The
Just
end of
like
the
you're the
spiel. Let's
only
go.
Elizabeth. Wait. Yeah. No,
The
Yeah.
only
so much,
one.
that's it. You're it. Especially in New England.
Oh yeah. No Elizabeth's
Uh,
around here.
Yeah. Well, Brendan, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. And
Yeah, you bet.
looking forward to seeing how the junior team takes shape. And we'll obviously be cheering along and helping out as much as we can.
Rock and roll. Let's do it,
Thanks,
man.
Brendan. You're the
All right.
best.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
buddy. Well, thanks again to Brendan Hansen and Elizabeth Beisel, Team Humble Brag, for putting a pretty good show on for us today.
Listen, there wasn't enough room on that podcast for our
No.
egos.
I felt like I was getting squeezed out of the frame by the size of both of your heads.
Well, I've won 6 Olympic medals. I was like, after you said that, I was like, oh God, I hate that. That did sound like a humble brag.
It's okay.
But it's okay.
I mean, you guys, it's not
okay.
like it's made up. You guys actually did it. So it's
that's fair.
It's valid.
I
But,
think
yeah.
it was cool though, like for him to talk about National Select Camp because I had gone to that and I remember the fire inside of me after leaving that camp because it's typically the first time you go to the Olympic Training Center and
Yep.
you're around just this environment that is created to make you want to be better and want to
Yeah.
pursue going to the Olympics. And it's cool to see that the culture of USA Swimming is still there. Like we are building these kids up to be exactly what they can be and even more. And especially heading into 28 and 32, I think it's going to be a whole new crop of athletes, like a little bit of the changing of the guard type stuff.
Yep.
And it's really exciting for me to think about these youngsters that are going to be on the podium in the next few Olympics. And I'm sure you feel the same because you get to see them when they first come onto the scene.
Yeah. It's funny. So Select Camp is run by Sport Development, so it's not a national team program, but we always have some involvement in it. And so occasionally I've given talks there. And the last time I did this medium dive into like how many of these kids actually make it. And so from all of these camps, it's about 2 from each camp will make it, which is like in any room of people, there are not 2 Olympians, right? Like it's pretty much impossible that that's
Right.
going to happen unless you're at a very, very high level meet. So we think about it as very, very developmental, but on average, 2 to 4 of them are going to get to the very, very top of the sport, which is a really rare assemblage of people to have that many get there. And it's not, especially on the women's side, it's not this far off thing.
Right.
For some of the women, it will probably be in LA. For the men, probably more likely 32, just given the developmental pathway of guys. But it's sometimes we get a little lost, like I was talking about before, at the very top where we're like only thinking about like individual gold medalists currently, like these are our priorities. And it's like, but where they come from, and to your point about your pathway, and like you're in good company. Like Katie Ledecky also went to Select Camp and then skipped the junior team. Like it does happen that a lot of people do that. So yeah, it's a really key component of our system, even if it's not the most like forward facing thing that we do.
Yeah, I think it just proves that it's extremely important.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that USA Swimming continues to do it. And
Yeah,
they're lucky to have people like you at the helm, like leading the way, and Brendan. It's awesome. Like truly,
man.
it wouldn't happen without you guys. So Yeah, I'll brag for you since I've
Thanks,
bragged on
buddy.
myself
Yeah,
already.
yeah. All of my brags sound pretty weak in comparison to you and Brendan. I
Yeah.
can't
Okay,
hold a
Matt Barbini,
candle.
you're just curating the group of next Olympians. No, like nothing
Yeah,
big
yeah.
happening here.
Just doesn't quite jump off the page like 6-time medalist.
Okay, whatever.
I'm
You
just
have
kidding.
you as yourself are like all of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Olympians. You embody all of them.
There you go. We'll go with
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
So
if
plug
you-
wise, we don't have a ton right now, right?
we
Like
don't
we
have
are
a ton.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is information on, for if people are more interested in kind of what Brendan's doing, and the national junior team in general. We do have a Meet the Team page on our website. So you can go to usaswimming.org, click on Meet the Team and the national junior team, and you'll see if there are athletes from your area or people that you know on the team, and then kind of what they're up to. We also have, there was a lot of social content generated from National Select Camp. So you can go back to our feeds and check that out. There's tons of stuff about camps on our website. And then in about a month, we get back to the swimming. We do have our first pro swim in Westmont in the first week of March. And then we roll into the super exciting NCAA season. So we're in the last few weeks of what we would consider sort of the long course off season here. But lots of exciting things still to come.
Yeah. I'm excited. Barbini, always such a pleasure to chat with you. You're the best.
Pleasure is mine, Basil. I'll try to rock something Boston for our next one, since you
please
repped our,
do. Go Sox. Come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Rate, review, subscribe, all the usual things wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you guys next month.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, everybody.